What is good, everybody? It is Spill here, and welcome back to another NBA 2K Lab video. In this one, we're going to be going over our updated shooting badge tier list for Season 3. Since we've had the opportunity to test more badges in the last couple seasons, there's been a handful of changes when it comes to the best and worst badges to equip. Of course, every person has their own playstyle, so this is just a general overview of the badges we deem to be the most or least impactful. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into it. For this tier list, we're going to be looking at primary ball handlers, and off to the side, we're going to have the best badges for corner shooters as well. We were going to do off-ball sharps, but it was too similar, so we're just going to go with these two categories, and I'll speak on those a little bit as we go along. And like always, we're going to start in the C tier from the least impactful badges and go up to the S tier with the most impactful badges. So for our first badge in the C tier, we're starting with Claymore, and this is a badge that is obviously not made for primary ball handlers, as you have to remain stationary for 1 to 4 seconds to get the boost. MyPlayer states that the boost starts at 1 second and gets stronger at a max of 4 seconds. So if you're an off-ball sharp or corner shooter, this badge makes a little more sense to equip. So for that, we have it in the A tier for those types of players. We're running the numbers on this badge right now, and it will most likely be our next shooting badge video. So make sure you turn your notifications on to be the first to see how strong that boost actually is. It's a tier 1 badge for all players 6'10 and below, and a tier 2 badge for 6'11 and up. So as you get taller, it becomes a bit more costly, so try to see if it pops often for you, and if not, you may want to consider equipping other badges. Next, we have Amped in the C tier for both playstyles, and while we initially had it in the B tier for our first video, the badge doesn't seem to provide enough of a boost to justify spending the badge points. The make percentage and speed of your shot is severely reduced when below 50% stamina, and this badge helps increase the make percentage but not the speed. We mentioned before, if it helped increase the speed of your shot when the stamina was low, this badge could actually be really good, but since it doesn't, we have it in the C tier. You can maybe throw some points in here if you have extras, but those are tough to come by when considering all the other badges you'll want to equip. Now for corner specialists, we have it in the C tier for primary ball handlers. When we tested it, it didn't seem to provide a noteworthy boost to your make percentage, but we do know that it doesn't speed up your shot, and since it's a tier 2 badge for all players 6'6 to 6'10 and tier 3 for 6'11 and up, it's a costly investment when you'll still need to equip other badges like catch and shoot or green machine, which are likely in similar tiers. For corner shooters, it obviously makes the most sense, so we have it in the B tier, but until we see a noticeable boost, it can also be a skip-worthy badge. Guard up is a badge that sounds great in theory, but just doesn't seem to work well enough to spend your badge points on. We have it in the C tier for both playstyles because, like we said in our first video, the activation of this badge isn't very practical, as most players will probably have hands up or jump to contest your shot, making this badge only slightly effective against possible neighborhood contests. It doesn't seem to activate much, and the general consensus is that this badge isn't worth your points. Next, we have Slippery Off Ball, and this is a C tier badge for both playstyles as well. We've seen bigs use it to help slightly in pick and roll situations, but as an off-ball shooter, there's more impactful badges to prioritize. And now that we've covered the C tier badges, it's time to move into the B tier with badges that would be worth considering if your playstyle calls for it. Starting with Comeback Kid, we originally had this as an A tier badge, and the boost is actually pretty solid even on bronze, and since it's a tier 1 badge for all builds, it makes for a great investment at just 1 badge point. The Hall of Fame level actually provides about a 10% boost on the early parts of the green window, which is significant, but there's probably better places to spend those extra points than on Hall of Fame Comeback Kid. The downside to this badge is that you need to be down by at least 7 points for it to activate, and it only works on jumpers, so for those reasons we have it in the B tier. Then we have Catch and Shoot, and this is a badge that isn't super practical for primary ball handlers, but I like to use it for pass back situations or if I need to spot up in a pinch. I feel it works pretty well, but if you have an already high 3-point rating, it may not be worth it for certain playstyles. As a corner shooter though, we have it as an S tier badge, as it's the most practical badge you should have equipped to increase your make percentage in those situations. Keep in mind though that it doesn't activate from limitless range, so as an off-ball sharp on the hash, it loses some effectiveness, and when we tested it, the silver level actually seemed to provide the most bang for your buck, while the golden Hall of Fame levels increase your make percentage more toward the edges of the green window. The next B tier badge we have is Deadeye, and that's for both playstyles, and this is a solid badge, but it's a tier 3 badge for all builds, making it very expensive and almost unobtainable for most builds considering the other badges you want to have equipped. It provides a slight boost at bronze, but the significant difference will come at the gold and Hall of Fame levels, which require a 91 and 99 3-point rating respectively. At that point though, it's tough to equip over badges like Agent 3, Limitless Range, or Blinders, which are similarly tiered badges. With the new level 40 reward though, you have the option of 2 core shooting badges, which may actually make this a bit more accessible, but we're still keeping this in the B tier since it's so expensive compared to the return you'll be getting. Next we have Midi Magician, and this badge can be really effective if it applies to your playstyle and skip worthy if it doesn't. If you like to shoot off dribble middies or post fades, it's an S tier badge and you should definitely have it equipped on some level. level, but for practicality, we leave it in the B tier since most people will either shoot threes or go for the dunk. It's going to work better in general for park players since there's more spacing on the court, but for corner players, we have it in the C tier as these players typically don't invest much in mid-range, not to mention the mid-range opportunities will be fairly limited. Now moving on, we have one of my favorite badges, and that is clutch shooter. It remains in the B tier though because I'm not looking to spend a lot of badge points on it, but it can be very helpful in late game situations, and it does help in free throws in the rec as well. This badge is also more practical in the park as it can boost your make percentage when leading or losing in a game by at least 8 points. For corner players, we bump it up to the A tier as these players will typically have slightly lower shooting ratings than primary ball handlers, and therefore it will help benefit them just a bit more. Then we have our A tier badges, and we're starting with Space Creator, and this is a badge that works really well if you're taking any type of step back shot. This year in 2K23, it provides a boost to your make percentage since it's a shooting badge and not a playmaking badge like last year. And if you're taking step back shots with a good 3-point rating, this is a badge you'll want to have equipped for sure. It's more of a playstyle specific badge, but as a primary ball handler, it makes sense to have these types of shots in your arsenal. As a corner shooter though, this is a C tier badge as these types of shots won't come often as a player that's there to space the floor when you're off ball. Volume shooter remains in the A tier as we just recently tested it and proved that the boost is pretty significant. And since it's a tier 1 badge for all builds, it makes for a great investment if you're taking around 8 to 10 shots per game in 5v5 modes. The boost builds up and you'll see the largest boost around your 5th or 6th jump shot, whether it's a make or a miss. And for primary ball handlers, it makes sense to spend some points here as you typically run the show and will normally take enough shots to justify that boost. For corner players, it can still be effective, but only if you're getting enough opportunities, so for that reason we have it in the B tier for those types of players. Even on bronze though, you can see a solid boost, but the significant boost will come at the gold and Hall of Fame levels toward the early edges of the green window. Next we have a badge that we've bumped up from our previous tier list, and that badge is Blinders. We've tested this badge, and while it's slightly similar to Deadeye, we have it ranked better just because it's a bit more practical as it seems to activate in more situations, especially if you're taking fades. I still prefer this badge over Deadeye even for corners since it will account for those rotational closeouts from the wing, so we have it as an A tier badge for both playstyles. Now for our S tier badges, we have one new badge in the S tier from our previous list, but for now we're going to start with Agent 3, and for any primary ball handler, this is a badge that is a must-have, and since I'm shooting a lot of fades, I keep this badge as high as I can get it. It also works really well for any type of stop and pop and even rhythm shooter types of shots, and for the people that are taking those size up escape step back shots with the LeBron and KD packages, this is the perfect badge for that type of shot. I know everyone's out there cheesing the AIs in the rec and my career with this exact move, but since it activates on almost any type of 3, it's easily in the S tier. For corner players though, we have it in the B tier as it can be useful when faking the drive and stepping back for 3, but it's not the most practical compared to the other badges. Then we have Limitless Range, and this badge is extremely powerful still in season 3 for primary ball handlers and off-ball sharps to help you shoot from range with ease. Of course, if you can get this to gold, you'll see a huge benefit when shooting from 30+ feet, and if you get it to Hall of Fame with a 99 3-point, you'll be able to shoot extremely deep and it will almost feel as if your feet are on the line. The silver level still sees a solid boost as well, making this badge good on almost any level relative to your 3-point rating, but for lower rated shooters and corner players, this is a C tier badge and you should look to spend your points elsewhere. And for our last badge, if you couldn't tell already, we have Green Machine in the S tier for both playstyles, which was previously in the A tier in our last shooting tier list video. With each make basically requiring a green release, Green Machine is one of the best badges to have equipped, and for me personally, I always have it equipped, and if I can get it to Hall of Fame, I will. It provides a slight boost after your first make, but the real boost will be after making 2 in a row, and on your 3rd shot with a good rating, there's a 100% chance to make your shot when timed correctly at the Hall of Fame level, which is why after our testing, we bumped this badge up from the A tier into the S tier. It's that simple. Now there you have it, our revised shooting badge tier list for season 3. I'll put up the corner shooters tier list up for just a bit as well so you can see it in its entirety, but let me know in the comments which badges are ranked too high or too low, or if they're just right. And don't forget to leave a like if this video helped you. Much love. Thank y'all for watching. It's been Spill, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.